Okay, this is going to be a step-by-step on how to upgrade the shifter bushings on the 6th generation V6 or Turbo 4 engine Camaros with the manual transmission. First things first is you get the car jacked up. I'm using the pucks there from ZL1 add-ons for the jack. And then of course I've got a jack stand there plus in back of the car to make things safe. Okay, to start off with, once the car is jacked up, you're going to want to put a block of wood under the transmission on a jack and then jack it up to where it's snug against the transmission housing to prevent it from dropping. And then come back here and take the 6 bolts, those two here in the center and 2 on the far end. They're 15 millimeter. Remove those, drop the transmission cross member because it just makes things so much easier, especially if you're on the ground like I am right now, or even at my cousin's where his lift only takes it up about 2 feet. It just makes things so much easier. And then what you would do is lower the jack, holding the transmission up about 2 inches. I think that's the maximum you can drop it. But even that just makes life so much easier. And then with this piece out of the way, see if I can get you in here to see. Up in there, the shiny gold looking thing, right there. Not focusing because of all the undercarriage stuff, but that is the rear connector for the shifter linkage that attacks directly to the stick inside the car. On the passenger side, there's a better view. On the passenger side, you see that little square looking section. That is a C-clip. Remove that. That will allow this rear section of the shifter linkage to come out and hang free. Then you move up to there where you can see the front part of the shifter linkage that attaches to the transmission shaft. So what you would do is pull that C-clip off, reach over top, which I can't get to show you real well because the cross member is still in the way. Reach over the top to pull the other C-clip out. And then, with any luck, that shaft will slide out. You can drop the whole thing, take the old bushings, replace them, then put everything back in place. However, my case with the corrosion, it did not work that way. Now, let's see if I can get... Okay, so this is where it connects at the rear of the shifter linkage. If the cross member was out of the way, I could get a much better picture. But to the left of the screen, hidden by the drive shaft there, to that left, there is a C-clip, just like the ones in front. You pull that off, this rod slides out and will drop. Then you come up here, if I can find it. Where's it at? I have to twist the camera a bit. Right there is where the bushings are. And on an ideal case, all you would have to do is remove this C-clip, the one on the opposite side, which you can access from either side of the car, driver's or passenger side. And then that black pin will come out. That section will come loose. You can take it out, replace the bushings, put it back, and you're done. My case, however, that shaft was completely rust seized to the old bushing liners from the factory bushings. And as you can see, there's no real room to swing a hammer in here to drive that pin out. So what we had to do go a little farther, and that blurry black looking mess on the left side of the screen there is a rubber bushing or a grommet that covers up a drift pin that is oriented vertically and is held in place by a spring clip. You pry the spring clip out of the way, take a punch, and punch the pin upward to drive it out of that, and that whole section covered by the black there will come out and free up the front of the shaft. That way you can just take it up on the bench, do everything you need to do up there, put the new bushings in, attach that piece, that little centerpiece there underneath the black grommet is what holds the linkage to the transmission. That comes out with the shifter linkage, and then go up on the bench, do what you got to do, get the old bushing sleeves off, clean up the shaft and the drift pin, install the new bushings on the bench, clean up, what we did is, you can obviously see all that shiny, grimy looking stuff is this really snotty grease that sticks to everything. We smeared that everywhere, assembled it back on the bench, came down underneath, reattached the rear section back there, came up here and lined up the adapter, for lack of a better word, onto the transmission shaft, put the drift pin back in place. That took a little bit of me playing with the shifter, and my cousin down here working the drift pin back in place. Once the drift pin's back in place, you slide the snap ring back over it, put the rubber grommet in place, and you're pretty much done. It took us an hour and a half to figure out that we needed an offset punch to get that drift pin out of there. Once we got that done, it was less than 30 minutes from the time that we started driving out the drift pin to taking the linkage up onto the bench, replacing everything, coming back under, and reinstalling everything. That was, once we got that drift pin out, it was a total of 30 minutes. And that was only because we had to pull everything apart, clean all the corrosion off, grease the heck out of it, and then come back underneath. So if you're, like I'd said in my previous video, if you've got a much newer car, mine's 8 years old now. If you've got a newer car, or you live in a southwestern state or a state with low humidity, no crappy weather, you shouldn't have the corrosion problem. But still, I think this is the easiest way. Remove the cross member. Right there it is. Remove the cross member. Gives you much more working space. Drop the whole assembly, which means the rear clip and the drift pin. Redo it all on the bench. Come back, reinstall it, and the results are simply amazing. I spent the last 3 days just driving aimlessly around town, enjoying the hell out of my new shifter. And that was just a bushing replacement. So hopefully this helps anyone who's looking to do this, or wanting to do this, or needing to do this. Hopefully between my two videos, this will help greatly. I'll try to put a still picture in the video, a couple of stills that actually point out each individual piece's parts. Thanks for watching.